Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into something that I know a lot of you are thinking about these days, the future of work, and specifically, how AI is going to impact the professional landscape. We're really lucky to have gotten our hands on this awesome report, the Thomson Reuters Future Professionals Report from 2024.
Yes.
Let me tell you, it is packed with insights. They talk to thousands of professionals, even C-suite execs across all sorts of fields, law, tax, accounting, you name it. It's like they took a giant x-ray of the professional world and said, okay, what's about to change?
Huh.
So the big question,
Yeah.
the one that everyone is asking,
All right,
is are robots going to come and take all our jobs? Well, according to that report, 77% of professionals think that AI is going to have a massive impact on their careers. And I'm talking higher transformational impact within the next 5 years. So
Yeah.
to help us unpack all of this, we've got an expert in the field here with us today. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. And yeah, you're right. That 77% figure really jumps out at you, doesn't it? It shows just how quickly things are moving. It feels like just yesterday we were all marveling at AI that could write a poem, and now we're talking about how it's going to reshape entire professions. It's pretty exciting and maybe a little bit scary. Time to be working.
Totally. I'm right there with you on that. I mean, with all the headlines about robots taking over, I was kind of expecting people to be, you know, running for the hills. But what's really interesting about this report is it's actually pretty optimistic. 78% of professionals see AI as a positive force. What's going on there? Why are people so optimistic?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think a big part of it comes down to efficiency. Think about all those tasks, all those little things that suck up hours of your week. Drafting routine documents, summarizing research, the stuff that's important, but not necessarily the most stimulating. AI is already starting to handle those things, and professionals are seeing the benefits. More time, less stress. It's like having an extra set of hands.
Okay, I can see the appeal. But
Sure.
how good is AI at those tasks, really? Can we trust it with important stuff?
Right. And that's a valid concern. The report actually found a pretty interesting range of opinions on that. About half of the professionals surveyed see AI as a good starting point, something to build on. But they're still doing the bulk of the work themselves. Then there's another 28% who see AI as a much more powerful tool, something that just needs a few tweaks here and there.
So basically, AI is less about stealing our jobs and more about being like a really
Oh, really?
super-powered assistant.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. It's like having a tireless research assistant, one that can churn through mountains of data and pull out the key points. And the best part, the report predicts that AI could free up, get this, 4 hours a week for professionals within the next year.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on. 4 hours. That's like almost an extra workday. What could you even do with all that extra time?
It really opens up a world of possibilities, doesn't it? More time for strategic thinking, creative work, client relationships, all the things that really add value.
Okay, I'm sold. Sign me up.
But I gotta ask, with all this talk about efficiency and time savings, what happens to the way professionals charge for their services? I mean, if we're not billing by the hour for tasks that AI can speed up, how do we prove our value?
That's a really important point. And the report actually addresses that directly. What we're seeing is a shift, a fundamental shift,
Yeah.
away from time-based billing and towards value-based pricing.
Value-based pricing. Can you unpack that for me a little bit?
Absolutely. Value-based pricing is all about focusing on the outcomes you deliver rather than the hours you spend. It's about demonstrating the unique expertise and insight you bring to the table, the things that AI can't replicate. And the report has this great quote that I think really captures it. It says, "The role of a good lawyer is as a trusted advisor, not as a producer of documents. Breadth of experience is where a lawyer's true value lies, and that will remain valuable." Yep.
Yeah.
That's it right there. It's not just about cranking out work faster. It's about providing strategic guidance, understanding the nuances of a situation, building trust with your clients. AI can be a powerful tool to support all of that, but it can't replace those core human elements.
Exactly. And that leads to another really interesting question. If we're moving towards value-based pricing, what skills are going to be most valuable in an AI-driven world? What are the things that we can do that AI can't? And how do we demonstrate that value to our clients and employers?
Okay, that's a big one. And I think it's
Yeah.
something we're all going to be grappling with for a while. But
Yeah.
before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's talk about what's happening right now. The report highlights some interesting differences in how different generations are viewing and using AI. So
Yeah.
are we seeing any kind of generational divide in terms of how comfortable people are with AI?
Absolutely. And we'll dig into those generational trends right after this break. So, before we jump into those generational differences, There's something else in this report that I thought was really interesting. It's about, the relationship between in-house legal teams and,
Outside law firms.
yeah, I remember this part. It seemed a little bit counterintuitive at first because the report suggests that both in-house work and the amount of work sent to outside firms are both expected to increase. But
Yeah.
wouldn't more in-house work mean less reliance on outside firms?
You would think so, right? But it actually kind of makes sense when you look at the bigger picture. The report found that the overall volume of complex legal work is just growing like crazy.
Yeah.
So companies need both. They need those skilled in-house teams to handle the everyday stuff, but they also need those outside experts for the really hairy, complicated issues.
So it's less about like one replacing the other and more about each side kind of like playing to their strengths.
Exactly. And you know what? AI is a big part of this whole
Who
equation.
knows? Because by using AI for those routine tasks, in-house teams can become way more efficient, which frees them up for more strategic work.
Right.
And then on the other side, outside firms can also use AI to handle huge amounts of data and give more specialized advice.
So it's like AI is not just changing individual jobs, it's actually changing the whole legal ecosystem.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Now, speaking of different perspectives, you mentioned some interesting generational trends in how people are viewing AI. So what's the story there?
Yeah, so one of the most surprising things from this report is that baby boomers are actually the most ambitious about future AI usage.
Wait a second. I would have thought that would be like
Yeah.
Gen Z. You know, the ones who practically grew up with a smartphone glued to their hand?
Yeah, you'd think so, right? But there's a nuance to it.
Good.
Baby boomers are all about using AI to help them do their jobs, but they're a little more hesitant about AI operating without any human oversight.
Interesting.
They see AI as a powerful tool, but they're not ready to hand over the reins completely.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It seems like every generation has a slightly different comfort level with AI.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's just reflecting their experience with technology, throughout their careers.
I think there's something to that.
So what about you? How do you feel about, the level of AI involvement in your profession?
That's a good question. And I think it's one that we all need to be thinking about. AI is here to stay. There's no question about that. And I think our comfort levels are going to continue to evolve as the technology develops.
Right.
But one thing is clear. There are some big changes on the horizon for everyone. And the report actually spends quite a bit of time addressing this really common fear. Will AI take over our jobs?
Right. That's the big one, honestly. It's the one that keeps me up at night sometimes. So
Yeah.
is the report saying we should all be polishing our resumes and getting ready for the robot takeover?
Well, actually, the report is actually surprisingly optimistic.
Oh.
While there may be some job displacement, it emphasizes that the vast majority of professionals, we're talking 85%, actually believe that AI will create new jobs and roles.
Yeah. That's a more hopeful outlook. But
Right.
what kind of new jobs are we talking about here? Paint me a picture. What does this AI-powered workforce look like?
So think of it this way. As AI gets more sophisticated, we're going to need people who can develop it, implement it, manage it.
Right.
The report highlights a bunch of new roles, like AI specialists,
Yeah.
implementation managers, even AI trainers.
Wow.
It's a whole new world of professional possibilities opening up.
So it's not just about learning how to use AI. It's about understanding how to work with AI in these new roles.
Exactly.
It's about humans and AI collaborating,
Yeah.
not competing.
Exactly. And even for people who aren't working directly in AI,
Yeah.
there's certain skills that are going to be more valuable than ever.
Okay, spill the beans. What are these must-have skills for the AI-powered future? I'm ready to start adding them to my resume right now.
All right. So the report actually lists the top 5 skills, and they are drumroll, problem solving, creativity, adaptability, enthusiasm for new tech, and efficiency.
Those all make a lot of sense. They're all valuable skills now, but they're going to be absolutely crucial in an AI-driven world. It's all about being able to complement AI's capabilities with those uniquely human strengths. But, with all this talk about responsible AI and ethical considerations,
Yeah.
what does that actually look like in practice?
Yeah, that's where things get a little tricky. The report highlights this fact, that there really isn't a clear consensus yet on what responsible AI actually means.
So how do we even start to figure that out if there's no agreed-upon definition? How do we ensure that AI is being used ethically and responsibly?
Well, the report does point to some key areas of concern that come up again and again. Data security is a big one, as is the need for human oversight. Remember that human in the loop idea we talked about?
Yeah.
That's going to be critical. And then, of course, we need clear guidelines for how AI should be used.
So it sounds like we're still kind of in the early stages of figuring all this out. We know responsible AI is important, but the specifics are still being worked out.
Yeah, it's definitely a work in progress, but the report makes a really important point. This responsibility doesn't just fall on the tech companies developing AI.
Mhm.
It's on all of us, the people using it, the
Mhm.
organizations setting the standards, society as a whole.
Right.
It's going to take a collective effort to shape the future of AI responsibly.
Okay, so we're back. And, we've covered a lot of ground here today. From how AI is changing the tasks that professionals do to,
Yeah.
those bigger shifts in how they're going to demonstrate their value.
Mhm.
But let's circle back to that big question we started with. Are robots really going to come and take all of our jobs?
After diving into this report, I think the answer is more complicated than just a yes or no. It's not really about robots replacing us. It's about AI reshaping how we work.
Okay, so less about job elimination and more about job evolution.
Exactly. AI can handle all those repetitive, time-consuming tasks. The stuff that nobody really enjoys doing anyway, which frees us up to focus on. The things that require those uniquely human skills, like
What?
critical thinking, creativity, problem solving, building relationships.
So it's like AI becomes this amazing tool that helps us do our jobs better and focus on the more interesting parts of our work.
Exactly. And as we talked about earlier, this is going to create new jobs and require us to develop new skills. The future belongs to those who embrace the potential of AI and acknowledge the challenges that come with it.
So the takeaway here is that we can't just ignore AI. We need to learn about it and figure out how to use it responsibly. But that can feel overwhelming. Like,
Yeah.
where do you even begin?
Yeah, I get it. But the report actually offers some good advice for both professionals and organizations. It comes down to three main things. Explore and adopt new technologies, commit to ongoing learning and training, and embrace change with a positive attitude.
Okay, so let's make this actionable. If someone's listening to this and they're thinking, okay, I get it, AI is a big deal, but what's one thing I can do today to get ready for this? What would you say?
Just start learning. There are so many resources out there. Online courses, articles, even podcasts like this one that can help you understand the basics of AI and how it's being used in your field. Don't be afraid to dive in.
That's great advice. Knowledge is power, especially with something as transformative as AI. And that's what we're all about here at The Deep Dive, giving you the information you need to navigate these complex topics. So as we wrap up today, I want to leave you with this. We've talked a lot about the future of work, but the truth is that future is being shaped right now by the choices we make today.
Yeah.
So stay informed, stay curious, and be ready to adapt. The future is waiting.
And we'll be here to help you explore it every step of the way.
Thanks for joining us.